Right, morning guys. So welcome back to NZ Motor Outlaw Customs. I've been through most of my videos. I've got a little bit of footage from yesterday. It's a little bit hickory-pickory, so I might I might use it, I might not. As I said, yesterday was a bit of a messy day. I only should have started part way through the day because I had to take Rachel into town to get her an eye check, and they put their drops in her eyes, and then you can't drive afterwards. Well, you're not meant to drive afterwards. Anyway, and then I did a little bit of here, and then right at the end of the day, I went on the briefly went on the Lewis Lee live, playing in traffic with Arco and Heidi and a few others from that busting out schoolie when they raised the roof on that school bus in Youngstown last weekend. There's still a couple of guys doing some finishing off stuff, to try and get it weather tight, so Lewis can get it back home and obviously fit it out for, so he can go live in it, and cruise around, whatever he's going to do. But anyway, this morning, got a few things here to go through. So basically what I'm going to do the next few days is obviously I'm going to get those hubs cleaned up and painted. I'm going to work on the little pieces that go along the sides of the hood with the clips and everything to hold that down. I've got to rebuild some bits and pieces there, and I was having a little look at them yesterday. I can pull them apart. I didn't realise I could pull those apart, like they actually screw apart. I figured that out yesterday. I got one apart, so I'll show you that in a minute. The other thing here is I got some. The other day when Rachel was in town, she got me some 1500, some 2000 wet and dry. We haven't been able to get some 3000, so we managed to find these. These are 3M, like little foam back 3000 grip things, so I'll use them to finish off the body. I've got a stack of them, come in a box like that. What is it, 15? So yeah, I don't have the air tool to run them, but we'll just use them by hand. I guess, I don't know whether you can use these wet and dry to have a bit more of a look, but they'll do, because like a lot of things, some shit's just not available at the moment, so it's a bit of an awkward. Also, I got him to talk to, because he went and seen the guys who got the paint from to get that to try and, Mrs. went to a different place to get that, the paper. I said to him, find out what they would use to obviously polish that up with a buffer afterwards, see what they recommend. They recommended that, so we'll give that a bash when I get to that point. Dad's got a buffer with variable speed on it, so I can get it down nice and slow, and we'll take the edges off, so when we can buff the rest of it, and I'll tape all the edges up so we don't burn through anything, and then when we get right to the end of it, I can slow it way down and just rub the edges over and get them nice without burning anything off. That's a little tip Arco told me. Yeah, if you're buffing out, just take all the edges off, so you do all the main stuff, and then when you're getting really close to finished and everything, pull your tape off and just slowly run over the edge and bring that back up, so you're not, so you don't accidentally rub over it when you're doing everything else. So I have no clue what that's like. We'll give it a try. Other thing too is I'm out of etch that I can put through my spray gun. I think I might have a little bit of slop there, so I grabbed this because I've got lots of little bits and pieces I need to obviously clean up and paint, and there are lots of little pieces. So I grabbed a can of the C.A.R etch it. I think that'll do for the little bits and pieces that I've got. It saved me buying another, like, as much, when I get into some other projects, and I've got that strip back. I see a lot of guys, they'll put, everybody does everything differently. I know I was watching a bit of Brent from Halfass Kustoms yesterday. He used some rattle can etch, because like I see a lot of guys, they'll put you know, body full straight into steel and all that sort of things. I don't like doing that. And the main reason why, if it is cool, if your steel's cool and you're putting body fuller over it, it's alright when it's warm, but I find when it's cool, because the chemical reaction in the body filler heats up in between the body filler and the steel. If you put it straight on the steel, which you can, but it can sweat in there, right? All of a sudden that creates moisture, and you get 5 years down the track and it's rusted in between, next thing your body filler falls off. I don't like putting body filler direct on bare metal. It's just, yeah, I've seen it so many times, and I've done it myself earlier on, you know, not knowing, you know, and just where we are, it can be hot one day and cool the next. It's cool at the moment. Like, it's not cold, but it's cool at the moment. You know, we lit the fire last night at home because that's our only source of heat. We do have an aircon heat pump thing in the house, but it doesn't work. It's a rental, and they've, instead of replacing that, they put a fire in. In some ways, the fire's good, but it's very fierce too. Like, it's a small house and a smallish house, and just the way it's situated in the house here, it freaking just about cooks out of the main living room, lounge, whatever you want to call it, where we sit and watch TV and everything. So anyway, but we cranked it up with just a little bit of water in there last night because it was really quite cool. Like, it was down 7 or 8 degrees C, which I don't know, whatever that is. I'd say maybe 40 something, be 40 or early 50s Fahrenheit, so it was quite cool. So we just turned the fire on, you know, just lit the fire with a little bit of timber on it, and just let it build up, and just scattered the ember of that, just to lift the temperature in the house, you know, without having to plug in an electric heater in or anything like that. So yeah, like, it can change here really quickly. We've had some really shitty weather. We've had a lot of rain over in the west coast. Well, they get a lot of rain, but they've had a shitload of rain. They've had a lot of flood warnings and lots of shit over there. So the temperature's been really crappy here the last few days. That's hence why I'm wearing a beanie and a top and a t-shirt and the old wife beater with Mopar logo. So yeah, but anyway, so that's the main reason why I put an etch or a super etch on my bodywork before I do anything. Once I get it down to bare metal, I always put a product like this. I like this one. It works good. It's a single stage. It's no hardener in it, but it's a super etch epoxy type primer. It's an etch, but it's an epoxy as well at the same sort of time, if you know what I mean, but without being 2-pack. So it's easy to clean up, and it works well. And I'm not 100% sure on the price of it, but it works well. It's a wattle industrial etch, super etch primer. But it can be a real pain if you're just doing little bits and pieces to be having, you know, mixing up, you know, a cup of paint all the time, you know, or it's not so bad with that because you can splash a little bit of thinners in it, and when you're finished, you can tip it back in a can. But it's not always ideal to be cleaning out spray gun all the fucking time too, when you're just doing little bits and pieces. So I grabbed that, so I'm going to give that a try. The other product I grabbed, which is also C.A.R, Zinc It, and it's a weld through primer. I haven't used this one. I used to, when I was in Australia, I was buying a Dymark product, very similar thing. It was a Zinc It type weld through primer as well, but it was Dymark brand instead of C.A.R. I haven't used this. I'm going to try it, see what it's like. This is like about $30 New Zealand a can. That was like 21, 22, just retail cost, without buying, you know, a whole heap of it and getting a bit of a trade discount. just want to try these and see what they're like. But if you're doing a bit of, because I've got to do those pieces and there's some little bit middle brackets in between and whatever. I wanted some weld through primer just for some of these other little funny pieces I've got to do. Really hot. I haven't done a lot of stuff on here where I've really needed it yet, but now for some of these other funny pieces I'm going to use that. So, but anyway, I'm going to get on with it, and we'll talk to you in a minute, and I'll wash out the other bits. Righty, so this is the pieces I was talking about. These go on the, obviously, the next piece to be painted and whatever. So this one here is okay. And what I've got to do is, these pieces here are all worn out. Well, some of them are worn out and broken through. So I've got to try and repair them or remake them or something. And on the back, you can see it's got these like little blocks. So some of these are trying to fall off and being sprung out and what's that crap. So I've got to go through and fix that stuff, or yeah, because I think they've been tacked on them, or they might be just come loose with the bolts, with these being screwed out. So I've got other ones these here, so I've got to clean all this stuff up, pull them all apart, so obviously so I can paint this piece, and these are whatever they are, brass bronze mixture. I've got three like that, and this other one that's a little bit tighter in the bend. I might bow to, I don't know whether these might have been even straightened out. You wouldn't quite know, but this is the only one that's different. So I've got to pull these apart, clean them all up, get all this crap cleaned up, probably build up this end piece a little bit because it's all worn off. I've got a couple other ones that are a little bit different. Like that. I don't know whether I can maybe rip some of the guts out of those ones as well. I don't know. We'll work out. No, hopefully I can pinch, because I've got another one here that's in really good nick, like bottom. That's the opposite. But we're missing these pieces, so hopefully maybe I can use the bottoms off some of these other ones, because I've got a few of these. So I'm going to try and, there's another bottom piece, but see the bolts broken out of it. So I'm going to try and get these bits cleaned up and get these together and rebuilt, so I can either put them together or whatever, build the ends up, with a welder or whatever, and get these all functioning and working back together, and then obviously get this stuff painted so I can go back in the car. I probably will paint these all black. So this is where that can of zinc will come into it, and the weld through primer. Probably, I'm not sure. I have to see that if these are welded onto here, spot welded onto here. I'm not sure if they are or not. But if they are, I'll put a bit of weld through primer in between. Otherwise, I'll paint in between, and they'll just be held on with those screws. And then obviously there's bolts that go down through here to hold everything on. And there's also some little tabs that stick up in here, which I think are on the frame. Might not be. There's some little tabs that stick up through here that help obviously locate the centre of the, will stop the hood side from going in too far, if you know what I mean. Like it sticks up and it's got a little rubber buffer on it. So I've got to try and find them and work that out. Lots of little pieces, but these are sort of things that weren't critical to do when I was doing body work, if you know what I mean. But these are lots of little pieces that I just need to do and get painted and whatever. So I started pulling one apart, so it's got a big heavy spring in it. So I need to clean all this crap up, get these all apart. Get, whatever worn pieces fixed and rebuilt, so they're going to last, quite a few more years without pulling apart. Build the holes up, re-drill them, whatever. So that's what I'm going to start doing today, amongst the hubs and stuff, so I can get all these all a few bits and pieces cleaned up and painted at the same time. Because like I said, I don't want to be mixing up 2-pack paint and just painting. Like, can you imagine mixing up a bit of 2-pack paint to paint that? Like, you're only going to need like a tiny little bit in the bottom of the cup, and it's a prick. That's actually one thing I need to get. I want to get a little set of digital scales. So if I want to mix up a little bit of 4:1, I can pour in, I don't know, say like, I'll talk in grams. So if I want to put in, say, 100 grams of paint, I'll just put in 25 grams of hardener, and then put a wee splash of thinners in to mix it, and then I can have like a nice little small amount of paint to paint something small. But ideally, that's not great through a big gun, if you know what I mean. So that's where the mini gun will come into it. So hopefully I can try and get that sorted soon. I'm probably going to end up painting a lot of the stuff from a big gun, but I'm going to buy one of those mini guns, probably a 1mm or a 0.8 or something like that. I think they go from 0.5 to 1.2, I think, the ones I'm looking at, which would be a nice little gun to have, maybe, you know, 1 or 2 of those, maybe, I don't know. We'll see how I get on down through the time. I don't even know if Arco's actually got a mini gun. I should ask him. But yeah, just handy when you're doing small pieces like this. Say if you were, I don't know, say you had a customer come in and you got an engine bay to paint. Where a full size gun can be quite cumbersome, but a mini gun, because it's small, it's quite easy to get in amongst stuff, even if you didn't have the motor out, you know, or the engine out. If you had a lot of roller crepe out, you can still get in there and spray a lot of stuff. But yeah, or if you're just doing little bits and pieces, you don't always want a big full-size 600mm cup or whatever the conversion is, and a big spray gun, like a nice little one with a little paint pad on top of it, and that's quite compact but still nice and easy to use. Handy just to paint a few little bits and pieces, or painting some wheels, trying to get in around those little spokes. A little smaller fan, a lot less paint coming out, you don't end up with runs and all that sort of shit. So that's why I want one of them. I'm going to have a quick look at these front hubs, because they've had been soaking in the simple green overnight. See if that's freaking loose enough, Heidi. Yeah, now. Try and get this gun out of here. Oh, yeah, no, that's clean up nice. I'll bring you. Fucking that shit's good. I like that simple green. It's good for clean up shit. Yeah, it's just not quite so good for the shit. Some of that stuff it's corrosive. Like, that's the powder coating, or yes, it's powder coating off the bottom of this tank. So between that stuff, which wasn't the simple green, it was another product, and the simple green, it's freaking lifted all the powder coating. I took all that out of the other day because it was floating around. But let's put you on wider view. Hold on. Yeah. So hopefully you can see in there. So that's cleaned this shut quite nicely. And there, like, I've still got to give this one a sandblast, but it was the real. That's the biggest problem with this. Some of this old shit. Like, you know, something that's reasonably modern, even if it's say 20 or 30 years old, the grease isn't quite, say, a freaking tarry. Like, this is, you know, I don't know how old, but the grease in there was like freaking, it was like glue, you know, tar. So that simple green, you know, soak it in there 24 hours, just throw it in there and let it sit in the bottom. It's been great. It's just loosened all that shit up. It's come off, so that's good. This one here I've sandblasted a little bit. Yeah, so yeah, this one's loosened up too. So I'll give that a good scrub out and give these another sandblast, and at least then they'll be ready to paint as well. And that's where probably the etch will come into it. I might paint, just give this surface here a light coat, but I won't paint in here. I'll just put the etch on here, because that's where obviously the wooden spoke's going to be, and they'll want that to be quite a nice tight tolerance to go on there once they get all the spokes and everything built. It's got to be a nice tight fit, so obviously it doesn't move around, so it can't move around once it's all clamped together. Nothing worse than it jiggling backwards and forwards, you know, because that's all that's going to do is make everything come loose, it's got to be a real tight fit in there. So just a coat of etch on there will be enough just to help protect it, because it's going to rust anyway over time. Like it would break the paint away if you're trying to push it on. Because these are, I guess they'll be probably sort of like, I wouldn't say pressed in, but it'll be pretty freaking tight, but probably will be pressed in to a degree. So you don't want big thick paint on there, it'll just be just a coat of etch on there, maybe a quick coat of paint just on that surface just to help protect it. But this is the side that's going to be painted, because this is the back of the wheel. Not that you can really see it, but obviously that surface there is not painted, but we'll just paint the rest of it. Right, give these a scrub and give these another sandblast and clean up. At least then we can get some etch on them. Right, so rip one apart, so we'll see if we can get this other one off, and then see if we can get these apart. Righty, so I've got this stuff cleaned up reasonably well. I've still got to obviously get another one of those sorted. I think I've got a spare one floating around without broken bolts in it, like this one, and there is another one on one of those other bits, one of those other old rusty pieces, which I can probably get it out without breaking the screws off if I need to. But the first thing I was going to do is have a look at these things and see if I can repair these and build them back up. I'm going to use probably this one here as my reference, even though it's worn. It's the best of the whole lot, if you know what I mean, within reason. I might try and close it up a little bit in this hole. It's a pain in the butt because it's 100 years old, and I don't really know what would look like it was brand new. I don't know whether it would have just a hole, you know, like how big a hole was in there for a start off. I don't think it would have been that big, if you know what I mean, because that's sort of designed to hang out there like that, obviously, and then it would have been that way, sorry. That's obviously designed there to sit there like that and hold on to the thing and clip on to the handle that's on the hood side that'll be sticking out here. It's obviously meant to move so far to but I just don't know how far it needs to be. So I'll close this hole up a little bit on this one, and I'll try and make all the rest look like this if I can. You can sort of see it's kind of like where there's been a little bit of an edge on here. I don't know if you can see that on there or not. Kind of hard to tell. It looks like there might have been like a little bit of a edge on that, but the rest of it's all pretty beaten up and squished out. This one here's been flattened off, but I don't know if it's meant to be like that or not. So I'm going to try and make it, maybe heat it and stretch it to get it out to look like these ones. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a rough measure up, see how big that hole is, drill a hole into a piece of hardwood or something, and see if I can maybe heat this up and beat it into there with probably this. It's about the smallest thing I've got that I can maybe beat it in and get it to look like this, and then we'll try and weld these up and grind it out and whatever and make it look decent, I guess. Yeah, and try and build these back up. It's either I'm going to make new ones, if you know what I mean, which I could probably do, but I don't. What I've got is not thick enough. That would, how thick is this? Let me put another battery in these. So what are these? Yeah, it's about 2 mil, which I think is 14 gauge or 16 gauge or something around about that. So what I've got is only like about 1 mil thick. I haven't got anything in between. So I really probably need to. But I think what I'll do is I'll try and build them up with a welder first. With a MIG. I don't have a TIG. I'll just try and build them up with a MIG. See if we can get all these holes uniform. Obviously get all these fitting back through, build these up and grind them back. I'm going to use probably, now one of these is a rough guide. They're all a little bit different. Now this is probably the best looking one, even though it's a little bit bent. And it's a slightly different variation to this one. There's a couple of different variations here, but you know, like it is, it's not to say that these aren't worn or whatever, but I need to try and build these up so they're all about the same. You know, I can soon build it up. My plan was maybe to put it in a drill, spin it at a low speed if I can get it to, once I've got it built up, and just use die grinder or a little angled die grinder or whatever, and just see if I can, you know, get a rough shape of this back in with the drill. I'll get that one straightened out anyway. The hammer, you know, try and get these all back to some sort of uniform and build all these up. And then probably the only other thing I really need to do is maybe just have a look at the ends of these, because these are getting fairly hammered too, and just see if I can do something with these. They aren't bad, but you know, that one's a bit ugly. Maybe see if I can build these up and grind them back. You know, they are slightly different, but they're close enough. You know, it's what we could find. Now, if we can get them all built up so they're at least, you know, not all wallowed out in the hole. I'll see if I've got a bit of bar or something that can stick up in there and help, you know, grind it off and help reshape the end of these when I've got them welded. You know, I can heat that up with a torch, you know, if they're sitting on a bar, and you know, and hammer my build up of my weld out a bit, if you know what I mean. And then if I have to file it out or drill it out or whatever, it's not going to matter. But we'll get these, see if we can get these built up. Hopefully I can weld this shit alright. So I think I'll start with these first. Which I might draw. How big is that? It's about 20 mil. It's about 3/4. Well, it's not. It's a bit bigger than 3/4. I've got that big 19 mil drill bit, which is 3/4. I'll drill that into a piece of wood with a wee bit of depth, and I'll just see if I can stretch that out for a start off to make it look something like those. That's the first plan of attack. Beautiful. Alright. So now they're a bit out of flattened shape. We'll find something we can put around there and straighten them out, and then we can dress them up a bit more. And obviously open the holes out to where it needs to be to fit those other bits back through again. We go back this side. Back over here, so. Right. What we got? We can slip over there and just give these a wee flatten up. Tim. So these are all repaired fairly well. Obviously we're going to draw work out exactly what we're doing with the centre, but they're all, I'd say they're fairly well repaired. You know, I don't think I need to dress them up any much more on the inside. Maybe a little. You know, probably some of the first ones I did. I could probably go back now that white stone's a bit smaller, and just get in there and clean them up a bit better. But you know, I'll get in there and polish them up a little bit. So probably these two here, I could probably just go back over. Now with that white stone that's a little bit smaller, I can get in there a bit cleaner. But yeah, now we need to, what I'm going to do is screw this back on here, but this way, and find a drill bit that's the right size. And I think it needs to be a certain point. It needs to be able to move. Get it back through the adjust. So I need to be able to get this to move. If it would have been just, well, I wonder if I just try and open these up. I might weld these up a wee bit more yet, I don't know. I might just open these up to just slightly larger than this and see if I can get them a bit cleaner. Because that moves around in there quite easily, doesn't it? Once I get that in there. So I wasn't really sure whether that would have had, you know, like a slot in it or not, or whether it just, that's enough movement, if you know what I mean. Yeah. We'll see how we get on. I'll find a drill bit that's about 6mm, whatever that is in inches. Yeah, it's about 6, so if I get like a 7 or 8mm drill bit, so yeah, 7.5 or 8mm. So it's got a little bit of play. Obviously we're going to build this end up. That'll open that up, and then I can dress it up a little bit nicer in that edge, and hopefully we'll get a half decent result. And dress that up, and that'll be those sorted, and then I can build these up and clean them up. So I'll find a drill bit. at least if I screw these down, I can, you know, I can drill it and dress it. Just gives me an easy way to work on it. Right, well that's those pieces, I think, pretty much finished. I might come back and just readdress that one just a little bit more, but for where we're at, I think that's those repaired. If I need to slot the hole a little bit, once we, you know, maybe sit this in place and just have a wee play, when I get them back together, I can soon pull them apart and just maybe just put like a slight slot in that instead of just around the hole, but I think there's enough movement in it. But once we get everything else rebuilt up, I can come back and just open those up if I need to. But that's them done. Alrighty, so I think this is the only one of these that's actually bent. The rest are all worn funny on here. They're not worn, but straight, if you know what I mean, but because they're all, I've spun them. What I did is I put them all in the drill chuck and just spun them. And these are all worn off queer, but this is the only one that seems to be bent. So I might try and straighten that first and then build these up and grind them down, I guess. Yeah. If I get this one straight, I might use this as a sample, maybe make it a little bit larger, but these are all going to be built up to at least what that is in shape, and then we'll grind them up. You know, I'll spin them on I'll just put them in the drill, spin them, maybe even one of the cord drills that's a bit quicker, and just use the grinder and a die grinder to re-profile them, if you know what I mean, and get them all about the same. So they fit, obviously, in here, and you know, not going to wear themselves out too quick and fall out like they. None of these would actually probably fall out of there now, but you know, I'd rather build them back up than have them wear out fast or wear in a hole in here and then fall out. At least if they're big, you know, if these do get worn over time, you know, they're not going to fall out in a couple of years. You know, it's going to take them several years to wear this down and wear that hole out before it fall out. You know, whereas if it just was that size and wore the hole out, okay, that will keep wearing this down. You know, it's going to fall out faster, so, or break faster. So I'll straighten that one, and we'll build these up with a welder, and then reprofile them. That's about all I can do. That's what I'm going to do. It's pretty much what I did that. Build it up, ground it out, cleaned it out, and yeah, reshaped that bit in that wooden piece where I moulded it, and then we burnt a hole in it with heat and moulded it again. So we'll get straightening and welding, and then we'll do the same with this. I'm going to try and find something I can poke up in there. Maybe a bit of this. No, it's too bloody big. I actually thought about maybe putting that bit of copper up there, but it's too big. Unless I've got a smaller piece somewhere. Make a little piece so I can build the end up of that. Because I'm not going to be able to get in there and die grind that out very easy. Except I do have a long die grinder bit, but I don't really want to be die grinding the inside of that. But if we can just fill that hole up a little bit, you know, so it's not quite so uglied out like that one, you know, build the edge up, reprofile them a little bit, make them nice. Why not? Righty, let's straighten that one. I don't think I'll panic much about that one. I've spent friggin' enough time trying to reprofile these. They're all reasonable now. They're all... I don't think they're going to break off at any stage or anything. They're definitely not perfect, but they'll do the job. So that's that. I'll check the time because it's been freaking recording for an hour. And we'll come back to you. Righty. Fucking stupid lights. Stop playing up from the phone. Right, so I've got this bit of bar. Unfortunately, it's not very long, but it's almost long enough. Borderline. But I'm just going to grind it at just the end of it. might spin it in the drill mill, whatever you want to call it, and just round the end off so I can poke it up in there, at least straighten these out a little bit. It's getting warm because I just ground it down, but just so I can get in here and fix the ends of these, drive it down in there, whatever. I might just, hopefully I might have just enough to tack it onto a plate or something like that, and then better sit it down on it. So I'll do that. What it does, it just almost fits in there perfectly, like if it does. I'll get a little bit of clean up on the end of it and whatever. That'll fit in there. So I'll give that tidy up, and then you find a little bit of plate and drill a hole in it and just weigh it from the bottom so I've got as much depth as possible. It's getting warm, so I'll throw it in the mill and I'll clean it up. Righty, so can't remember, I think it might be this one here. It's the one that was all a bit wonky on the end. I've sort of panel beaded the best I can. It's not really worth chasing them all. Like we'll give it a sand up, all of them, especially this one because it's quite pitted. But yeah, we'll give them a sand up and whatever, and sort of get them half pie ready for a reassembly, I guess, and give them all these bits a bit of a, I suppose, a bit of an etch, so they, obviously don't rust on the insides. They maybe spray a bit of etch on this just to protect it, not that it's going to make a lot of difference probably at the end of the day, but they all go back together. So that goes like that. Springing it, and there's a little clip slips in here, holds that spring on, and then screw an end on it. Whatever, you have to double check to make sure they are all universal, but I think they should be all similar, and then screw the end on it basically, and I'll paint all this before I put this back on it. But yeah, and mix some other little bits and pieces, but that's basically them cleaned up and rebuilt. So apart from a bit of a clean up, and I'll use a bit of that etch, and then we'll spray them black, and I think should be fine. Hopefully there's enough play in that to to pull up and hook on the thing, and then without it rattling around too much and wearing it out. I might slot it a little bit just so I can lean back a little bit, but I think that should be enough, surely, to be out of the road, if you know what I mean. It's only a matter of putting it on there and trying it. It's about all we can do. It's quite cool. They've got that little hole there so you can screw a little bit of lubricant down in there to keep the spring lubed up so it doesn't get all gummed up and whatever. But yeah, that was a bit of a, I wouldn't say it was a simple fix, but cool little fix. It's amazing what you can fix with a MIG welder and a die grinder and a couple of like little die grinders, right angle die grinder, Rolex disc, drill. Like that was, they were really ready to be, if you'd used that again, it would probably, they were probably would have broken or fallen apart or whatever, they were all pretty worn, so now they should last hopefully quite a while longer and don't have any issues with it. So yeah, I think I might leave it there for today, since it is Saturday. I am here at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I think it is, about now. So yeah, I might shoot back in the morning and do a final clean up on these things, sand them up and whatever, and get them etched and get them ready for a coat of paint basically. Whether I paint these separately and then assemble them, probably would be just as easy to paint them separately. Just trying to work out. We'll probably paint them with that 2-pack, but when we got a few little bits and pieces together, and that's why I fucking want those miniguns, because You know, you're not going to be using bugger all paint for this. So, yeah, we'll work on that. We'll work on that. I might even go buy a cheap, see if there's a cheap minigun at one of the local parts shops, you know, just to get me by for a meantime until I order some decent gear. But yeah, quite a nice little clean repair. Like I didn't have to do a lot to these, just straighten them out a little bit. I might touch them with a welder and just give that a wee grind up, just because it's got like a little hole in there where it's rattled and worn through. You know, and we just built the ends of these up and just sort of reprofiled them. Like, they're not perfect, but you know, it's not seen as long as it's solid. There's not much else I can, you know, without putting it in a lathe or turning some new ones up, you know, it's going to do the job, and nobody's going to see it, you know, like you're not looking in there, the rest of it's covered, you know, we'll just give it a wee clean up, polish up, paint up, whatever, get a little bit of paint on it. You should better get just a little bit of paint on there so it's not completely bare, if you know what I mean. But anyway, we'll see you in the morning, I reckon. I'll bang some of this, go through some of this later, get this footage condensed up, see where we're at, and hopefully I can try and get these all in a one little video. And yeah, alright, I'll catch you later on. Cheers. Hey guys, if you need welding gas, go see the boys at Cool Gas. If you're in New Zealand, yep, go see these guys. They'll look after you. Cool Gas, New Zealand.